Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Gaur Pimanandi. Jai Vishupad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charan Arvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandabhiti Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki
Jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki
Jai.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki
Jai.
Jai Nitai Gaura Pimanandi.
Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada ki jai. You can get the cushion for, yeah. Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Taksurambilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanditam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakan Sanagaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Veshabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Narayanam namaskritya Dharam chaiva narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Utamashloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Sarabhyay Namaha 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 Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangom Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat Kripatamaham Bande Siguram Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to our morning program. We have a new guest today from Nepal.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. This is Gora from Nepal. Another country, Nepal. Yes. Up north. North.
This is not a protected place.
Huh?
Nepal means protected and Nepal means
not protected.
not
Huh?
protected. Very great.
This is Gurnitai. Gurnitai is always protecting us.
The Sanskrit who doesn't know language.
So this is Yadav.
Yadav.
Yadav, for short, yeah. He'll be here next few months. Yeah. Okay, we have a verse on the board, and we are continuing from Canto number 1, chapter 18, text number, what's on the board, 22? 22, okay. This is the chapter entitled Maharaj Parikshit Cursed by a Brahmana Boy. Okay. Yatra anuraktaha sahasaiva dhira vyapohya dehadishu sangam udham rajanti tat parama hamsyam antyam yasmin ahimsopashamaha sva dharmaha yatra nurakta sahasaiva dhira vyapohya dehadishu sangamudham vrajanti tatparama hamsyam antyam
व्रजन्ति तत्पारमंस्यमन्त्यम्
yasmin ahimsopashama swadharmah
यस्मिन् अहिंसोपशमः स्वधर्मः
yatra nurakta sahasaiva dhira
यत्रानुरक्ता सहसैव धीरा
vyapohya dehadishu sangam udham
व्यपोय देहादिषु सङ्गमूढम्
vrajanti tatparama hamsyamantyam
व्रजन्ति तत्पारमहंस्यमन्त्यम्
yasmin ahimsopashama swadharmah
यस्मिन् अहिंसोपशमः स्वधर्मः
yatra nurakta sahasaiva dhira
यत्रानुरक्ता सहसैव धीरा
vyapohya dehadishu sangamudham
व्यपोय देहादिषु सङ्गमूढम्
vrajanti tatparama hamsyam antyam
व्रजन्ति तत्पारमहंस्यमन्त्यम्
yasmin ahimsopashama swadharmah
यस्मिन् अहिंसो स्वधर्मः यत्रानुरक्ता सहसैव धीरा
yatra nurakta sahasaiva dhira
व्यपोय देहादिषु सङ्गमूढम्
vyapohya dehadishu sangamudham
व्रजन्ति तत्पारमहंस्यमन्त्यम्
vrajanti tatparamahamsyamantyam
यस्मिन् अहिंसोपशमः स्वधर्मः
yasmin ahimsopashama swadharmah
यत्रा निरक्ता सहसैव धीरा
yatra nirakta sahasaiva dhira
व्यापोह्य देहादिषु सङ्गम् ऊर्ध्वम्
vyapohya dehadishu sangamudham
भजन्ति तत् परामहंस्यम् अन्त्यम्
vrajanti tatparamahamsyamantyam
यस्मिन् अहिंसोपशमः स्वधर्मा
yasmin ahimsopashama swadharmah
यत्रानुरक्ता सहसैव धीरा
yatra nurakta sahasaiva dhira
व्यपोह्य देहादिषु सङ्गमूढम्
vyapohya dehadishu sangamudham
व्रजन्ति तत्पारमहंस्यत अन्त्यम्
vrajanti tatparamahamsyamantyam
यस्मिन् अहिंसोपशमः स्वधर्मः
yasmin ahimsopashama swadharmah yatra
यत्र
unto whom
unto whom
anuraktaha
अनुरक्तः
firmly attached
firmly attached
sahasa
सहसा
all of a sudden
all of a sudden
eva
एव
certainly
certainly
dhiraha
धीरः
self-controlled
self-controlled
vyapohoya
व्यपोह्य व्यपोह्य
leaving aside
leaving aside
deha
देह
the gross body
the gross body
and subtle mind
and subtle mind
adishu
आदिषु
relating to
relating to
sangam
sangam
attachment
attachment
udham
ऊढ़म
taken to
taken to
vrajanti
vrajanti
go away
go away
tat
tat
that
that
paramahamsyam
paramahamsam
the highest stage of perfection
the highest stage of perfection
antyam
antyam
and beyond that
and beyond that
the highest stage of the highest stage of perfection and beyond that yasmin
yasmin
in which
in which
ahimsa
ahimsa
non-violence
non-violence
upashamaha
upashamaha
and renunciation
and renunciation
swadharmaha
swadharmaha
consequential occupation.
consequential occupation
That's an interesting term. Consequential occupation. Okay. We'll come back to that. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Self-controlled persons who are attached to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna can all of a sudden give up the world of material attachment, including the gross body and subtle mind, and go away to attain the highest perfection of the renounced order of life, by which nonviolence and renunciation are consequential. Kind of repeat after me. Self-controlled persons
Self-controlled persons
who are attached
who are attached
to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna
to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna
can all of a sudden
can all of a sudden
give up the world
give up the world
of material attachment,
of material attachment,
including the gross body
including the gross body
and subtle mind,
and subtle mind,
and go away
and go away
to attain
to attain
the highest perfection
the highest perfection
of the renounced order of life,
of the renounced order of life,
by which nonviolence
by which non-violence
and renunciation
and renunciation
are consequential.
are consequential.
Mhm. Purport. Only the self-controlled can gradually be attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Self-controlled means not indulging in sense enjoyment more than is necessary. And those who are not self-controlled are given over to sense enjoyment. Dry philosophical speculation is a subtle sense enjoyment. Very important. Dry philosophical speculation is a subtle sense enjoyment of the mind. Sense enjoyment leads one to the path of darkness. Those who are self-controlled can make progress on the path of liberation from the conditional life of material existence. The Vedas therefore enjoin that one should not go on the path of darkness, but should make a progressive march towards the path of light or liberation. Self-control is actually achieved not by artificially stopping the senses from material enjoyment, but by becoming factually attached to the Supreme Lord, by engaging one's unalloyed senses in the transcendental service of the Lord. The senses cannot be forcibly curbed, but they can be given proper engagement. Purified senses, therefore, are always engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. This perfectional stage of sense enjoyment is called Bhakti Yoga. Haribol. We're not we're not forgiving up completely sense enjoyment because it's our nature. Okay, let's continue here. This perfectional stage of sense enjoyment is called Bhakti Yoga. So those who are attached to the means of Bhakti Yoga are factually self-controlled and can all of a sudden give up their homely or bodily attachment for the service of the Lord. This is called the Paramahamsa stage. Hamsas, or swans, accept only milk out of a mixture of milk and water. Similarly, Those who accept the service of the Lord instead of Maya's service are called the Paramahamsas. They are naturally qualified with all the good attributes, such as pridelessness, freedom from vanity, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity, respectability, worship, devotion, and sincerity. All those godly qualities exist in the devotee of the Lord spontaneously. Such Paramahamsas who are completely given up to the service of the Lord are very rare. They are very rare even amongst the liberated souls. Real nonviolence means freedom from envy. In this world, everyone is envious of his fellow being. But a perfect Paramhamsa, being completely given up to the service of the Lord, is perfectly non envious. He loves every living being in relation with the Supreme Lord. Real renunciation means perfect dependence on God. Every living being is dependent on someone else because he is so made. Actually, everyone is dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. But when one forgets his relation to the Lord, he becomes dependent on the conditions of material nature. Renunciation means renouncing one's dependence on the conditions of material nature and thus becoming completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Real independence means complete faith in the mercy of the Lord without dependence on the conditions of matter. This Paramahamsa stage is the highest perfectional stage in Bhakti Yoga, the process of devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Translation again. Self-controlled persons who are attached to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna can all of a sudden give up the world of material attachment, including the gross body and subtle mind, and go away to attain the highest perfection of the renounced order of life, by which nonviolence and renunciation are consequential. Quite a potent
Yes.
yeah, a lot of, we could call it heavy statements, very important statements, both, of course, from the translation itself and within the purport. Mm. Ultimately, all the living entities in the material world who are conditioned by the false ego, which is caught up and under the heavy influence of the three modes of material nature. That was a verse I was reading yesterday at the temple. There are three types of false ego in the mode of goodness, false ego in the mode of passion, and ignorance. So it is this conditioning of these modes of material nature um, that prevent us from fully surrendering or fully engaging ourselves in the service of the Lord. And this is nicely explained here. One should be, because it happens all the time, one should be ready. One should prepare oneself to be ready to leave one's home, one's family relatives, and ultimately, eventually, one's own body and settle mind, which is the more difficult. Therefore, there's that very nice expression, which I'm sure you've heard before: "Die before you die." A very profound statement, short but to the point. Yeah. So actually, this is what we're practicing as devotees. We know we have to leave this body at some point or other. And for most people, it comes rather before we expect, and sometimes very suddenly. Just imagine, here we are sitting, conscious to whatever extent. There's a Bhagavatam class going on. And then within one moment, we can be out of this body. It's like most people are very attached to their house, their children, their wife, and especially our body and our thought process. But that can be within 1 second, completely changed. And that's the nature of the material world. Due to the workings, that was, yeah. The jiva is working under the what is called the destiny. We are all, huh? Yeah. Yesterday in the verse, actually, the word daiva was translated as destiny. Daiva means, like so many Sanskrit terms, depending on the context, means like normally divine. Of course, destiny is connected with the divine arrangement. Means we are destined as living entities in the material world to go through so many, we don't know actually, so many situations for which the vast majority of living entities, because they are conditioned, are not ready to accept. Happens every day, practically in so many times every day. Things that are disturbing, especially in terms of family relationships, or in terms of, all of a sudden having to leave some place, or we get a notification from the boss, you're fired, or whatever. We don't have any money to pay you. And people, like, it becomes a trauma. People cannot handle it, and it's a cause of so much suffering. So this small example, major example of being able to all of a sudden adjust to a different situation is only possible when one develops this higher consciousness of just not at all being on the Bali platform. But Prabhupada nicely explains, as we have heard, not being on the Bali platform doesn't mean that we stop all kinds of pleasure or sense gratification, but we learn the science and the art of promoting pleasure and sense gratification to the transcendental level. Because by nature, Prabhupada explains nicely, it is the birthright. It is the birthright of all living entities to be happy. And, ordinary people means conditioned souls generally have a very hard time accepting or understanding why people become devotees and leave seemingly so many worldly so-called worldly pleasures. They don't understand that actually worldly, yeah, there are pleasures. It's material rasa. Rasa is there on the material level, and rasa is there especially, that's the real rasa, on the spiritual transcendental platform. So devotees are not crazy people. They give up the material rasa for a higher rasa, for a more for actual real rasa, which is the real rasa is the permanent rasa. Shapala sukha, flickering happiness, is like what people are striving for in the material world, because that's all that's available. Or as Prabhupada would often use the expression, chewing the chewed. Chewing the chewed. there's no no taste, no permanent taste in material activities of sense gratification. Hare Krishna. Although by nature we are pleasure-seeking living entities, but we are pleasure-seeking living entities on the fulfillment can only be experienced and lived on the spiritual or transcendental platform. And when we develop that, that's called higher consciousness. Krishna consciousness means that higher consciousness, where automatically, here it mentions this very nice word, swadharma, consequential occupation. Just like we have the word occupation is a very important one. It's connected with prescribed duties, especially in the context of our ashram. But it's also there in the context of spiritual activities. Our permanent occupation, which is nicely described by Lord Chaitanya, Jiva Sarubhoy Krishna Nityadas. That's our eternal occupation, eternal servants of Krishna. And only by such activities we can actually fully experience and continuously learn to experience. It gradually becomes like that, a permanent satisfaction. So that's also explained in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vasudevi Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayada Haitukam. By performing devotional service, pure, unalloyed, ahaitukiya pratihata, without material motivation, and continuously, then ahaitukiya pratihata, yayatma suprasidati, all of the needs of the jiva, of the living entities. And all of the needs, this is also important, all of the needs, it's also mentioned here in the purport, all of the needs spiritually and materially become more easily fulfilled when we follow our two levels of Swadharma. Our spiritual level of Swadharma, which is pure devotional service to Krishna, and our material Swadharma, our material level of Swadharma, which is living uh, as ordained, as prescribed actually in the Shastra, uh, in harmony with Krishna's creation. Very important and very deep concept actually when we stop and think about it. Krishna creates everything, both the spiritual and material world. Ham sarvasya prabhu, mata sarvam prabhartati. And only those who understand what actually that means, they actually can take full advantage and become can reach or attain that level of self-realization. So that's why it's like we're reading about in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the 24th chapter of Madhya Lila, where Lord Chaitanya is um, giving a very elaborate explanation of the Atmarama verse. Um, so one who is actually on that level of Paramahamsa, self-realized, he is fully satisfied, Atmarama. And all of us as practicing devotees are striving to actually develop, uh, not artificially, because it just cannot be attained artificially, but factually by simply applying the process which is given by our acharyas, especially the Goswamis of Vrindavan, then that type of understanding, that type of, well, that's also mentioned. There's a prerequisite for that. One has to come and become firmly at least established or situated in the mode of goodness. Evam prasana manaso bhagavat bhakti jogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. So this Bhagavad Tattva, unless one reaches that level of Bhagavad Tattva, one will not be able to remain in Krishna consciousness for a long time. Because just performing austerities uh, and not coming to the level of self-realization. Bhagavad Tattva Vijnana means different realizations that actually is given by Krishna. Krishna, who is within the heart of all living entities, he's just waiting for that conditioned soul who has forgotten him for so many lifetimes to finally begin turning towards him and reciprocating. So then when the Lord within the heart sees that, then he begins to actually reciprocate. So I was just thinking how here it mentions about sannyasis. I think, I don't know, I've not done an actual survey. Might be an interesting survey to do amongst all of our sannyasis. How many of them live out of their suitcase? How many of them actually are ready within 1 hour or half an hour to just put whatever is there in the suitcase and leave?
At least one I know.
Huh?
At least one I know. Not special bowl, just to accept that very simple life and just walking by food everywhere. And that's if you're just walking, then you have to have very small.
Yeah, right. You really live.
Maximum one servant, then you cannot carry so much
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah. That's why people in the army, at times they have to start giving up, because usually they heavily load people going fighting, but if they have to walk a long distance, it becomes a burden.
We have 10 support staff for one personnel, like advancing parties, and they will arrange infrastructure, ammunition.
In the
food.
army,
Yeah.
okay, 10 support staff. Yeah. So yeah, in other words, we have to learn to lighten our baggage, because we're all carrying heavy baggage since time immemorial. Baggage in the form of so many things or objects or different attachments. Most of our baggage is actually in the mind, and that's the most difficult to give up. Yeah, subtle attachment, subtle desires. So that is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. When we hear such kind of very deep purports given by self-realized souls like Srila Prabhupada, we can begin a little bit to get some insight in, where we are meant to go, what level we are meant to achieve. And and in many ways, that's why Prabhupada mentions how, I'm sure you've read this, I'm sure most of us have read it, how old age is an impetus, isn't it? For, it's like very soon something major is going to happen. I mean, Hare Krishna, welcome.
Old age.
We're talking about old age, we're not talking about you. But old age is a reality. Yeah, Prabhupada one time he told his disciple, don't think this will never happen to you. Becoming old and diseased and unable to do even simple things. Don't think this will never happen to you. And of course now it's happening in a major way. So yes, in the short few years that we have in this body, or a few months, or a few days, or a few hours, we don't know. Yeah. Therefore, we should, that is nicely explained in the Shastra, we should utilize every precious moment, or consider every moment as being very precious. Who was that king fighting with the demigods? Katvanga? Yeah, Katvanga. You know the Katvanga story? No. Okay, there's so many stories. Huh?
If he hears the story, he will recall. He has heard it.
Probably, okay. Yeah. Katvanga was a very powerful king, and demigods, they sometimes have to fight with the demons, and sometimes they have to fight with big demons. So this one particular time, they knew about this king on this planet who was very powerful, so they arranged for him to help them fighting against the demons, and then they won, largely because of his support. Then they turned to him after the fight that, okay, we'd like to give you benediction because you've been very helpful. But this king was very intelligent. Before accepting benediction, he asked them, first, kindly tell me, how much time do I have to live? And they said 1 second. And the demigod,
It was one muhurta.
yeah, right, which is, I don't know, maybe,
48
yeah, right, 2 minutes, 48 minutes. So then when he heard that, he said, yeah, benediction is that I should simply fix my mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. So he came back, and he just, I guess, fell in samadhi or prepared himself. A little bit like Parikshit Maharaj, whom we are hearing. He knew he had 7 days, and he took that opportunity to fix his mind on hearing from Shukadeva Goswami, the whole Bhagavatam. Yeah. So we never know. This this is nicely exemplified in many of the householders of Lord Chaitanya, who were householders, having children, having so many different responsibilities, but they were fixed on service, service to Lord Chaitanya. They were highly realized in the science of bhakti yoga, and therefore they were able to deal with difficult situations very in a very exemplary manner. Shivananda saying different, um, yeah, Srivas Thakur and others. Some thoughts or questions on this?
Maharaj, after being in Krishna consciousness for a long time, at some point it really struck me that
Long
there-
time.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what you consider long, but
Okay.
yeah, it's very short. Basically. But then I was considering a lot of things as which are actually proxy to Krishna consciousness. They're skills or abilities that Krishna has bestowed, but to confuse that with actual Krishna consciousness. So maybe Krishna has given some ability to sing nicely, or memorize verses nicely, or philosophically be inquisitive and analyze things. And this could be helpful, but that it's in itself is not Krishna consciousness. And to the point, that it once once the once the soul leaves the body, there's no guarantee the next life these abilities will be there. Right.
Right.
And so,
But all of those, like memorizing verses or being inquisitive, these are all very important elements that help to foster that type of elevated, purified consciousness. Of course, ultimately, everything is in, we're at Krishna's mercy.
it can be gone. That can be gone. That abilities could be.
Right.
But the whole essence is to surrender, whether one has the ability or not.
Correct.
But really surrender and serve
Yes.
Krishna. That's the essence.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Sharanagati, the science of surrender. Yeah.
I think that's also essence to surrender, but surrender should be a consequence of the consciousness. I mean, attachment to one person. If you develop attachment, then surrendering is very simple. But if you have not genuine attachment, you have no emotion for that person, positive emotion. If you are not, see that person is actually really special, that's the surrendering is kind of technical activity, which could means not really heartful surrendering.
You mean?
Also, maybe your intelligence say, yeah, you follow that person. But if you have not attachment to that person, it's so develop attachment to a person to whom I want to surrender. That's the first essential point. So first attachment, like higher taste comes from attachment to a person.
Yeah, that's especially highlighted in our Vaishnav philosophy, which is promoting the opposite of impersonalism, personal, personal devotion ultimately to Krishna, but via Krishna's representative, via via other living entities, especially who are very dear to Krishna. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadyanam Samarchanam. That's a very nice example where you can give you know that verse, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. What's the translation?
Uh,
More or less.
amongst the all kinds of worship, the worship to Lord Shiva is saying. Lord Shiva is saying. Among all kinds of worship, the worship of Lord Vishnu is greatest,
Yes.
and even higher than this is the worship of his devotees.
Yes. Tadyanam. So Prabhupada at one time was explaining this verse, and Tadyanam means either his devotees or what is dear to Krishna. Like cows are dear to Krishna. Sacred rivers are dear to Krishna. So many things actually are dear to Krishna. um, and therefore, that means if we are really wanting to express our appreciation and gratitude to Krishna, we cannot neglect what is dear to Krishna.
Right.
It's like when Prabhupada would say, if you love me, love my dog. I mean, whatever uh, I have or family members, then you cannot neglect my relatives if you will be displeasing me because they are dear to me, like that. Yeah. So this personal aspect is, of course, very, I mean, central and essential in our philosophy. Yeah.
Just a thought on that. So attachment is asakti, which is one of the stages of
Yes.
spiritual development. Before asakti, there has to be anartha nivritti. For that, one has to have bhajan kriya. For that, sadhu sangha.
Yes.
sadhu
Yes. Yes.
sangha. So that whole process before one can come to real asakti,
Yes. Yes.
attachment.
Yeah.
Otherwise, again, it would be like prakriti sahajya. So one has to again surrender to the process to begin, so that ultimately one genuinely develops asakti or attachment,
Yes.
going through all those stages.
Yes. That process will gradually bring us from the regulative level to the spontaneous level. Yeah.
You mentioned before that learning verses. So I see that is the first step which every devotee should learn. If they don't, they will have difficulties later, because much more easy to learn some verses in Sanskrit than keep the meaning in some other language. Like you were really thinking, what is really the verse means? But if you know by heart the verse, then just comes out the verse automatically gives you the understanding. Because learning verses develops attachment to the Vedas,
Right.
to the Shastra which given by the spiritual master. So Prabhupada always quotes that Shastra which is the most essential for devotees in his movement. So we have to learn that verses to have attachment to the Vedas, and then Vedas will protect us when any desire we have, just we seek, oh, which Veda is, which Shastra is giving me advice how to utilize that desire for for serving the Lord, and then I get
Yeah.
the result.
We become protected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first we should memorize verses, which is very difficult for me. Because I'm thinking that at the beginning I didn't focus on learning verses.
Yeah. That's one of the most important activities in Gurukul
Yes.
when one is
At
young.
a young age, it's very easy.
Yeah,
right?
correct.
And it can be trained properly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Amazingly, actually. Well, just like this one boy last, where are we now? Yeah, last December, December during Gita Jayanti, one Gurukul boy in Vrindavan, he broke a world record by reciting all 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita in like 56 minutes. I mean, and it's recorded, and it's like, just like, of course, that was like, Prabhupada explains, I think, how at the age of 7, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati
Yeah,
Thakur had memorized by heart and could understand the meaning also. Yeah, it's an important part for in the Vedic culture, children at a young age.
It's definitely helpful for making advancement, but that in itself is not devotional. So
Right.
that's the point I'm trying to make.
Right.
Because anything taken to a logical extreme, like
Yeah.
this competitive spirit, right? I can recite in 15 minutes. That's not should be
Right.
the essence, or okay, I
Right.
will be known as someone who can recite.
Yeah. Right.
So it's a double-edged sword, but it has to be, everything has to be utilized properly.
Yes. Yes. Well,
And it could be gone. Point.
but then if one memorizes like Gajendra
Yeah.
in the body of the elephant, it comes
Recall
back.
from his previous life.
Yeah. It stays
By
in
the
the
mercy of Krishna.
right.
Because he was surrendered.
Either because it was surrendered. Yes. Okay. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Sri Prabhupada ki. Gaur Premanandi.